I'm Merritt Crawford, and welcome to my channel, So Just Because, on YouTube and also over on Instagram. Thank you for joining me today. I want to welcome you to my channel. Today is going to be a little bit different format than I normally do because I'm just about a week out of going to the Threadworxs Fair, and I wanted to give a recap of that fair with you. Plus, I have a new pattern release, and I wanted to share that with you as well. I have a few things to show you as far as I took a class there. I have some finishes that I'm going to start off with, but this won't be a normal FlossTube where I go through all of my whips. I will go through a couple of whips that I'm really enjoying right now, but mainly I wanted to talk about the Threadworxs Fair and then show you my new pattern release. So that's where we'll start. So last Thursday, I had the opportunity to drive over to Indiana, and on my way, I stopped in Owensboro, Kentucky. I live in Somerset, Kentucky, which is south central Kentucky, so it took me about 3 hours to drive over to Owensboro. And I spend the time in the car either listening to music. Most of the time I'm listening to music. And about the time I got on I-65, headed south, I had put in some patriotic music by Michael W. Smith, and it's an instrumental. He has one called Freedom and one called Glory. And about the time I started driving into Bowling Green, the big Welcome to Bowling Green sign had this massive flag flying, and it was gorgeous. It was so pretty. And I was listening to that patriotic music, and as I went on down the interstate to go catch I-65 north toward Owensboro, I counted about 10 to 12 of those flags strategically placed down the interstate. It was just gorgeous, and it just kind of set off my weekend. I love America, and I'm just a proud American, and loved seeing those flags fly like that and listening to that music, and it was just a great start to my trip. The weather was really kind of stormy at times, but that morning, but then it got really nice. There had been storms in the Midwest the day before that were pretty treacherous, but then it kind of cleared out for that weekend. So I met with a friend for coffee in Owensboro, and then it headed up to Boonville, Indiana, which is where the Village Mercantile Quilt Shop is. And it is a wonderful shop. I used to live in Owensboro, so it was my local quilt shop. And I loved going up there, and it's on the square, and it's just a quaint shop, and it is jam-packed full of fabric and inspiration and examples and patterns and notions. And Betty's just a delight, and it was just really fun to walk through her shop and see all the things that she had. And so I'll share with you what I found there. One of the things you'll see here in a minute, and you can see what I'm wearing, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I have really been into ribbon. On my Instagram, I posted a picture of a floral arrangement that had a ribbon that I have found down in Clinton, Tennessee, and the patriotic ribbons have just really called to me this year. So again, I found some patriotic ribbon in Betty's shop. This is a Minnick & Simpson that I just fell in love with, so decided to get a little piece of that for some kind of project in the future. And then she had a quilt top made up, and so you know, that usually sells a quilt, and so having it made up, and it was made up in Minnick & Simpson, which is one of my favorite lines, and you'll see that throughout this video as I share different things. You'll see that is true. The quilt is Nightlight, and it's this quilt, but in Minnick & Simpson fabrics. So this is the Isabella line, and as you can see, it's got a flag and just beautiful, beautiful patriotic prints. And so then I got this fabric for the backing of that. And then she had a very cute pair of scissors, and I can't reach them right now, but they were red and white striped scissors by Riley Blake, and so I had to get a pair of scissors as well. So that was Miss Betty's shop. It's called the Village Mercantile, and it is well worth the trip. In fact, some of my friends made the trip from New Harmony back to Boonville just to go to the shop because it is well worth it. So after I left Betty's shop, I went straight to New Harmony. I had some projects that I wanted to enter in the fair, and it was a juried show. And so I had 3 projects that I wanted to enter, and had to have them in by between 1 and 4 with a grace period till 5 for some folks that needed a little more time. And so I was able to get there and get my projects turned in, and went over to my hotel. I stayed at the New Harmony Inn, and they weren't quite ready for us, so I did some shopping at that time. So some things that I found while I was shopping, I found this cute little Easter greetings note card, postcard that I just thought was so sweet to be put in an Easter vignette. And I know it's not Easter, but when you see it, you kind of have to get it. But I was real excited to find this. By land and sea, it shall ever be, Old Glory. So I found this postcard. And the unique thing about this particular postcard is it has 48 stars on it, on the flag. And it does have some writing on it. And yeah, so I thought that was neat. So I grabbed that. Some other things that I found some buttons. I'm always in love to get buttons. So let's see if I can open this. I found these were all in one little bunch of buttons, the mother of pearl type. And the button cards are just fun to see the button cards. And little pink ones. More of the little disc. And then these were the ones that really caught my eye, the little moon shapes. So I thought those were cute. And the other thing I found in that shop, this is actually a candle holder, but if you hold it upside down, you can still see the etching, and I think a pincushion would look really pretty on that. So be watching for that in my Etsy shop if that's something you're interested in. So that was fun. As I was waiting for my hotel room to open, I just did a little shopping, and I enjoyed that. So eventually the hotel room, I was able to get in, and my friend Carol and her husband John were coming in from town, and we were going to meet for dinner. So we met at dinner, and they have some quaint little restaurants around town. And before this video starts, you'll probably have seen some pictures of some of the places that were around town. And if you've been on Instagram any, there's been a lot of pictures posted by different folks. But we ate at a place called Say's, I believe, and it was Thursday night, so it was hamburger night. So there were all kinds of gourmet hamburgers, and we really enjoyed that. And then the next morning, Carol and I, we both were taking classes, but not with the same person. So we did decide to meet for breakfast, and we went and had breakfast, and we enjoyed that. It was Maine Cafe, or Cafe Maine. I can't remember which one it was, but anyway, Main Street Cafe. And it was interesting because we were there, you could see Stitchers. Sylvia was there, and her friend, and Stecker. And anyway, we enjoyed seeing different Stitchers in different places, but there was kind of a old faithful guys that always would come to that. It looks like they came there for breakfast frequently, you know, the big table of guys that were kind of the color of the town. They would be there and have breakfast. So it was funny that we were kind of invading into their normal breakfast time and stuff, but they were very welcoming. So Carol and I went to our classes. I took a class from Belinda, and she is with Blue Ribbon Designs, and I thoroughly enjoyed my class. Belinda is an excellent teacher, and we did have some pre-stitching to do, and it wasn't mandatory, but it did help if you had yours done, and I believe all of us had our pieces, at least one of our pieces done. And so we were able to finish one of our pieces, and it's this little disc, and I decided to do my BeeCuzz first. There were 3 pieces. This is a rendering of the main building called the Granary, which is where the Threadworxs Fair was held. The vendors were there, and then the show where all the pieces were displayed were there. So this was a rendering of the Granary, and then this sweet little bird and flowers, and there were lots and lots of birds and flowers in this little town. So sweet. But I decided, as you know, I love bees and BeeCuzz, and so I decided to complete the BeeCuzz first, and she taught us how to do all these things, and it's got this beautiful velvet backing, and it was just a pleasure. The ladies in the class were so much fun. Belinda was an excellent teacher. If you ever get to take from her, do it. She's just so sweet, so helpful, and nobody left there without one finished. I mean, we all got them done. We got one done. So just really, really a lot of fun. She's a fantastic teacher. She provides lots of instruction. I got a blue ribbon from her. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So highly recommend her class. Then I went over after class. We got out a little bit early, so I went over and headed downstairs and ran into Shelly Fry and Carrie Chamberlain, Tiger Lily Designs, and Carrie was helping Shelly, and so ran into them and said hi, and then walked over to the Granary and started looking at the show, and it was just beautiful. So many beautiful things, and tables and tables and tables of needlework, and it was just thoroughly enjoyed it. The vendors were wonderful. There were quite a few vendors there. Teresa Kogut was our featured designer for this Threadworxs Fair, the inaugural Threadworxs Fair. So that was really fun. She had a gorgeous project, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So I will, I'll show you what I entered in the fair and explain a little bit about those things. The piece that I did enter in the fair is also going to be my pattern release. So I'll briefly share about what I've put in the fair, and then we'll talk about some other things, and then I'll come back and do the pattern release at the end too. All right, so the pieces that I entered in the fair, when I first started researching what I wanted to do for the fair, one of the themes of the fair was let me make sure I'm telling you right. Let's see. Sorry. Here we go. Challenge theme, the semi-quincentennial, and then Abigail Adams, Remember the Ladies, John. And so one of my pieces, I did some research on just what were some of the things that were around during the Revolutionary War as far as needlework or clothing, finery, and things like that. And I came across something that just really appealed to me, which was a cockade. And I'm going to read a little bit about this, more of a definition, not reading to you, but more of a definition. The French word is cocarde. It's C-O-C-A-R-D-E, and it means foolishly proud or cocky. And they use them to put on their uniforms. It's like a rosette or a feather. It was made out of ribbon. It was a badge worn by some of the officers or the soldiers, and it identified them in the different wars that they served in. And so I kind of took that for this particular category, the challenge theme. I thought, well, I will make my version of a cockade to put in this particular category. Now, my piece was the only piece like this in the category. It was, all the other pieces were large stitched samplers or unique patriotic pieces. Um, so that's just, that's okay. That's how they interpreted that, their piece for the category. But anyway, mine was very unique. In fact, there were a couple of pictures of the judges kind of that were on Instagram, and they were kind of leaning over looking at my piece. I guess they just really didn't know what it was. And really, there was, we didn't have a little blurb about our pieces or anything next to them, and maybe that would have helped them know what I had made. So I'm wearing a cockade. This is not the piece I entered, but I am wearing one. This is smaller than the piece I'm getting ready to show you, but it's just a rose, and then I did the ribbon. And the ribbon is the big part of the cockade, is how they're folded and how they're stitched. This is a grosgrain behind here, and then this is some folded gingham ribbon. And then I have some star fabric on the front and the back to hold the pin. And then I did a button. This is a rose from my pattern, and I made a button and covered the button with the rose. But the piece that I entered is this piece. And so it too is the rose. It is perforated paper, a 14 count. And this is a navy blue grosgrain ribbon with a striped ribbon that I coffee tea dyed to kind of take out some of that white. I found this happy birthday ribbon at Hoskins in the Flats back in May, the first weekend of May. I went down there in Clinton, Tennessee, and met Annie, the proper stitcher. We had just a fun day, and anyway, that was something I found while we were shopping. And then I stitched using a mesh. I laid the mesh on the ribbon and stitched 1776 on this piece of ribbon, and then I tacked it on, sliding the happy birthday underneath. So it kind of looks more like a prize ribbon, but it's my take on a cockade for this particular category. I finished it on the back with a Riley Blake. We've all seen this used a lot in project bags. So I used that on the back, thought it was appropriate. And so it's got the beautiful tails and the ribbon. So that was one of my entries. The other entry that I did, this was in Unframed Smalls, and this is called Faded Rose Spool Tower, and I've done this before where I've used a stack of spools and used a perforated paper on top, and I attach it with a floral pick that holds the little greeting card in a floral arrangement, and I use that to attach my perforated paper to, and then added a pretty satin bow. And so this is the back. It does have some little glitter on the edges. You can see it sparkle a little bit. And so this was Faded Rose Spool Tower. And then the other piece that I entered was this piece. And this is Heirloom Roses, 'Tis for Thee. And it is a Pete's BeeCuzz spool that he made specially for this. So this goes along with the pattern release. He will have these available. But it has velvet ribbon down the sides and a bow at the top. It has a single scissor holder. I did a tassel at the bottom. And then a Jersey Girl Stitch Co. pin, especially made for this piece. It's a little bit shorter, so it will fit underneath the spool. So those are the three pieces that I entered into the Threadworxs Fair. Yes, they were all very similar. That's okay with me. Would I do that again? I might not do the same motifs in 3 different pieces. This piece and the tower spool, they put in the same category. I probably wouldn't have done that, but that's okay. So those were the pieces that I entered. Didn't get a ribbon this time, and that's okay. I enjoyed making them and putting them in the fair, participating in the first fair, so that was really fun. So I will share now a few things that I've recently finished, and then I'll go back to the fair and just finish showing you some of the things that I have purchased. So I recently finished America, which is a blackbird design piece. It's in Souvenirs of Summer, and I had started this in 2023. This is a 46 count linen from Hobby Lobby, I believe, and I stitched it with a DMC red. It's probably $4.98 maybe, or $3.04, one of those, I can't remember. And I used the Jersey Girl Stitch Co. Pin. This is the companion pin to the other pin I just showed you in the spool. I did a ruching on the edge with 3 beads, a red, a white, and blue bead, ruching all the way around. And I had this really fun fabric for the back. So that is America, Blackbird Design, Souvenirs of Summer. The next one I'll show you is Hooray for the USA. This is a Lizzie Kate, and it has a little charm flag here, and I just used some threads in my stash. I used a tiny rickrack for the trim that I glued on, and then this little fabric print. Another recent finish is this Sub Rosa. This is a freebie from Sub Rosa. It's a strawberry, and recently finished it. The little bird there. And there's the top. Beautiful mother of pearl. And another Jersey Girl Stitch Co. pin. So this is a freebie by Sub Rosa. All right. So I'll share a couple of whips with you, and then I'll get back to the fair. So one of the whips that I started on Memorial Day to go along with Hollis Hands Creates, she does a summer sal where she stitches from Memorial Day to Labor Day to try to get in a full completion of a chart that she starts. And I decided to do Salute to Abigail, which is this one by Blackbird Design. And I am stitching it on 36 count Steinbeck by Needle and Flax. I did a personal thread conversion. I did, well, let me just hold it up for you if you're interested. This is my thread conversion, and I'm very pleased. And then this is what I have so far. So I've got, it's just 4 colors, and I have all 4 colors represented there, and I'm very pleased with how it's turning out. So the colors, if you didn't get to see that, the light blue is Dungarees by GA. The Schoolhouse Red is my red, and that's also GA Gentle Arts Midnight, and then I'm using DMC 3866 for the white, and I'm very pleased with that. And I'm really enjoying using my handy rolls. I have a few in my shop. They really help you keep your fabric from being wrinkled when you put it down in your bag. So I also use it to stitch in hand. So when I stitch, I will roll my piece up and stitch in hand. It's lightweight to hold, but it gives my hand something to hold that's a little bit more substantial than just the linen. And I find them really helpful, and I've had other people say they really find them helpful too. So if that's something you're interested in, you might check my Etsy shop. And this is in a bag that I made. It's a Lori Holt 12-inch block and a little friendship star. The next one that I'm going to show you, this is just kind of, everybody's been stitching an animal cracker of some kind. And last year, our friends group that went on a retreat, we all decided to stitch a Lily. And she is the little frog. Very cute. And I started her, but then I just kind of put her away. I got, you know, other things started going. And so I've gotten back to her. I'd really like to finish her before I go on my next retreat, friends retreat, which is coming up in July. So I've got her going, and she's looking cute. I am going to make her patriotic, so I have charted out, made a copy of the chart, and then did some coloring on it to make her patriotic. She's going to have a red and white striped dress with a blue, you know, little strip in the middle of her dress will be blue and white, and the top will be red. So she's going to be patriotic. So more to come with her. And I have my little handy roll in there with her too, so she stays nice and neat. So those are the two patriotic ones I wanted to show you. I think I'll get back to the Threadworxs Fair now. So a couple of vendors that I visited, one was called the Village Spool, and she had a really, really nice booth of wool and other little things. She had these little thread rings that you can add to a needle book, and she had these for sale, I think 10 for $1. They were just pretty to grab and keep on hand and put. I love making needle books, so these would be perfect for that. And then she had some buttermilk basin scissor keeper holders. She had a full kit of these with all the wool included, and so I decided to get that. She had a really pretty booth. And then at Cranberry Bog, who is one of the hosts of the Threadworxs Fair, I bought 2 things. So she had honey 5 cents, and this is by Bird in Hand Primitives, and I thought that was really cute. There was a model, of course, and that was really fun to look at. I bought that. And then they had a Threadworxs Fair little booklet, and it's the commemorative booklet. It was just really fun to go. They plan to do an annual event like this, so hopefully if you didn't get to go this year, that you would be able to go next year. There's recipes in here, and there's charts in here. There's little tips, history of some of the town, and just all the vendors are listed in here as well. So if you wanted to go back and visit a vendor or go to their website, you could do that. 1803 basket making was there. She actually sold out. Of course, Teresa had a booth there. Let's see who else did. Share with you who all Bee Tree Pottery was there. Colleen Moody was there. She also taught some classes, I believe. Like I said, recipes are in here. Cranberry Bog had a booth there at the event, as well as they had their shop open back in Terre Haute. So yeah, just a really, really nice little booklet that they put together. And then they gave you some thread to go with it. So that was very nice. And then I also bought from them, I was looking for this little piece of paper a minute ago and I forgot I had put it in here. So it talks about, remember the Ladies' John, and that was kind of our theme, and the vendors and the classes. And so this will go in like my scrapbook. This was something you could keep. So that was very nice to have. And then they had some Monahan papers, and so this little girl just won my heart. So I'm not sure what I'll do with her yet, but I decided to get her. Okay, and then for Teresa's booth, I got His Grace, which is God shed His grace on thee, and glory, glory, hallelujah. And then Liberty and Freedom. Whoops. And then Land That I Love, Biscorn New book. And then this was the retreat piece. So, Life, Liberty, and Happiness. And it was stunning. It was just so beautiful. So, those were the pieces from Teresa's booth. So, I did manage to get a bag made. Show that to you before I left. This is my Poppins bag, and I took it with me. And this is Minnick & Simpson Fabrics. And I'm so pleased that I was able to get this done. The other side. And then you can pack a lot in here. And then there's the inside. So it's got lots of pockets. So it's a great bag. All right, I'm gonna clean up a little bit and then I will come back and we will talk about my pattern release. All right, now I'm going to talk about my pattern release. I have an Etsy shop, for those of you that don't know, and it is So Just Because, and I have things in there like cross stitch patterns. I have some project bags. I have 2 project bags in there. I have some handy rolls in there. And then I have some kits. I have some wool, sunny sunglass kits in there. One is a sunflower, and I have 2 hydrangea kits in there. And then I have milk glass pincushion kits in there, complete with the milk glass and the pattern. And that pattern also has a QR code that explains or shows a tutorial on how to do it. Make the pincushion for the milk glass. And then today I'm featuring my latest pattern, and that is the Heirloom Roses 'Tis For Thee that I talked about earlier, that I entered in the contest at the Threadworxs Fair. So this is going to be released with a kit, and the kit would include the pattern that has the QR code for the tutorial. The kit includes the Jersey Girl Stitch Co. pins, the star pin, and then the little flower pin. And I can show you the flower pin up close again. So this is the little flower pin. Focus on that. And then the star pin, which is the star pin there. And like I said, the star pin is a little bit shorter. These are a little bit shorter shank because it needed to fit underneath the spool to hold the fabric. And then the fabric that will be in the kit is a Minnick & Simpson Belle Isle piece of fabric, and it will be cut to the size that you need it to make the spool in that size. So you would have to have the spool that Peter Firth made from Pete's Beeskep to make this kit. And so those 3 items will be a kit, and then I will also have the pattern available as a PDF and as a hard copy if you want to send the hard copy. And all of the threads are DMC. So this is the thread palette for the roses. The kit, I had initially planned to put linen in it, but that did not work out for me. So the linen that I used in the original piece is Almost Rain 36 count by Dames of the Needle. And I had bought that at 3 Stitches in Houston, and I had just bought a scrap of it. So I'm not sure how readily available that particular fabric is. I also, when I did the tutorial, the piece that I stitched this on is just a very light linen, light blue linen, and I am blanking on the name of it. I meant to look that up. Hold on a minute and I will look it up. I'll be right back. Okay, it is 36 count Lullaby by Forbidden Fiber. And so this is the color that I used for the tutorial that you would see. So if you have that color, that would work, or any light blue would work, or a color of your choice if you found something that you like that this color palette would fit on. I know some folks are really good at changing color palettes, and that's great too. The original pieces were what I think to be luggage straps. They do have initials on them, GFS. I found them at a estate sale. This is actually a piece that's stitched on a light brown. So it's like a tan, and it's like a gauze almost. It's a fine mesh gauze. I'm just not sure. And then the other 3 were stitched on a blue, kind of a light dusty blue. One of them was backed with satin. So those are the original pieces. And then here it is on the tan, so that might give you some inspiration for what fabrics you would like to choose. I have stitched the rose on a very small count. This is a 40 count. Picture this plus, maybe it's Wren, I'm not sure. But that's a very small piece. My brooch here is stitched, it's the red rose, and it's stitched on a 40 count as well on my cockade. I have stitched it on perforated paper again, and then I did like an eyelet stitch around the top of that so I could hang this from something if I wanted to. So that's just a experiment that I had done just to see if I could make an eyelet stitch on perforated paper, and it does work. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with this. I may cut this out kind of like the rose on the other cockade and see if I could use it for like a bag tag or something like that. I think that would be pretty. So there's lots of different options you can do with these roses. Like I said, the pattern, the print of the pattern, all 3 roses, I've basically printed it very large, so it prints out in 3 pages so that you can see it. The color changes there's a lot of color changes, and so I wanted you to be able to see the symbols and the colors so that when you stitch it, it's not so hard to stitch. I'll hold this one up so you can kind of see there's quite a few color changes in here and in here, but it just gives you that really pretty depth of color and shading. So I think it's worth it to have all these colors, but you can definitely make it your own. And so I hope you enjoy stitching these. I have enjoyed stitching them in multiple ways and with multiple ground cloths and perforated paper. So I'm very pleased with how these turned out, and I hope you like them too. And you can visit my Etsy shop. I will put a link below and see if this is something that you would enjoy. I would love your feedback on it. I'm a fairly new designer, and so feedback on patterns if you have some good ideas. Also, if you see a mistake, please email me. I'm happy to make that correct, get that corrected for you, and let everyone else know as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you get a chance to go to the Threadworxs Fair next year, I would highly recommend it. Wonderful venue, wonderful designers and vendors. The town is just very accommodating. You can walk, you can ride a bike, you can rent a go-kart, a golf cart, you can drive. So many cute little shops and restaurants, benches to sit on and just enjoy. They had decorated for the 4th of July and the celebration of our country this year, and so that was really fun. It was fun to see fellow Stitchers. I got to see, of course, Teresa Kogut. I got to see Shelley Fry and Carrie with Tiger Lily. I got to see Audrey with Stitch Stitch Bead. You'll have to watch her video. I'm sure she'll have one soon. I got to see, who else did, oh, Lori Wilson. She was one of the judges. So she's Thread Milk Designs. I got to see, who else did I get to see? I'm trying to think if I'm missing someone. My friend Carol, I spent a lot of time with Carol and her husband. It was so much fun. They're such a sweet couple. I got to meet some new people, of course, in my class, and so that was really fun too. Oh, Sylvia Stecker, I got to meet her running with scissors, running with scissors. I might not be saying that right. So I got to visit with her. Trying to think who else I got to see. I'm probably missing some people, but it was so much fun, and I hope that it continues. I'll get to do another. Oh, my friends Dawn and Dawn, I got to see them, so that was really fun. I had met them before at a retreat at Craft Gallery, and it was just a blast to see them again. So yeah, there were just a lot of fun people. So my cup was filled when I came home, and I hope that I get to go again next year. It's not too far from my house. It's an easy drive, and there's some fun things to do on the way. So, all right, take care. I hope to be back soon with another video. I want to do a 4th of July parade. How appropriate. I think it would be fun to show you my patriotic finishes and some of the things that are fully finished, some of the things that are just stitched, and then some of the things that I'm working on. Maybe I'll have some more progress on Lily and on Salute to Abigail. So I hope to get that filmed so that we can visit again real soon. Take care. Bye-bye.